So my name is Madeline Peña. I'm a principal librarian here, and principal librarians usually are in charge, oversee, a couple, 2, 3 departments of areas in the library. My areas are our volunteers, our friends groups, and our outreach efforts, community outreach. So welcome to the historic Central Library. The Central Library is both an architectural icon of the city of Los Angeles, and it's also one of the most vibrant public libraries and research public library in the nation. So we're very happy that you're here with us today, and you'll learn a little bit about the history, the architecture, and the collection of the Los Angeles Public Library. And in case you ask what friends groups are individual support groups, nonprofit, most of them, who raise funds, advocate for, and volunteer at our neighborhood libraries, and also support specific collections here at Central Library or for the library in general, or support specific Central Library subject departments. So we are very fortunate to have community support in addition to our patrons and our users through our friends groups. And we're here outside the library store, which is a way to support the library by purchasing really unique and curated gifts that most of them have a literary flavor to them. We are not just the Central Library, we are, in addition to that, 72 libraries throughout the city of Los Angeles. So we are a public library system, and we are embedded in the community, with neighborhood community libraries, in addition to the Central Library that's where we're at right now. It was created by artist Rene Petropoulos, and it is called 7 Centers. Hopefully you'll be able to find the different centers throughout it, and it is the only new artwork commissioned for the old or the historic part of this building. The way people can access our resources is through a library card. So, everyone in California can get a free library card, of course, free of charge, and they have access to our many collections and our resources. For example, we have a collection of books and other materials of, over 7 million items, physical items. In addition, we have a very robust digital collection that includes ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, and we also provide access to newspapers, current popular magazines, historical newspaper databases, many other databases. We also have a historical collection of photographs, maps, menus, book plates, so many interesting things that document the history of Los Angeles and California in general. And we also have, of course, programming at our libraries and here at Central Library, virtual programs as well. We're still doing virtual programs, and special programs such as the New Americans Initiative, which is a program that helps individuals with their path to citizenship. So if they're residents, they can get help obtaining their citizenship, preparing to get their citizenship. And if they have any other immigration related needs, they can receive free guidance, from experts, and that's provided for free by the library. We have another wonderful program. It is called the Career Line High School, and it gives people who didn't have a chance to complete their high school program the opportunity to do it online, and in addition to that, to receive a career certificate that will give them additional skills so they can find employment and they can have a new career. And that program is completely free. We have hundreds of graduates already, and we were the first library in the nation to offer it completely free. It's funded by the Library Foundation of Los Angeles, and it has been really a great way to help our community advance in their careers. And we have a very interesting series. It's called LA Made. So it's featuring local authors, artists, performers, and thinkers, and they're featured most of the time here inside our Taper Auditorium and in conversation, performances. It's just a fantastic series that showcases the best LA has to offer, and of course our programs are all free for the community. We have a website that's for the whole library system, and then you can find all the events that are happening everywhere, and you can limit the search or the results to display, for example, Central Library. You can also limit them by a series, if you know the series that we have, or by topic. So if you're looking events, author events, you can see all the author events happening throughout the city. If you're looking for specific, like the LA Made event series, you can see what's happening as well. I do have to mention that you're visiting the library during a very special time. The Los Angeles Public Library, as a public library system, is celebrating 150 years since we were founded as the Los Angeles Library Association. It was just 2 reading rooms, 750 books here in the downtown area, and that organization later became the Los Angeles Public Library. So we are outside the Flower Street entrance and facade to the Central Library, the historic Central Library. So the building has pretty much 3 facades. So this is Flower Street. We can look at the Hope Street entrance later before, and we also have the 5th Street entrance facade. They're all different, they're all unique, they're all beautiful, and they all welcome everyone through the light of learning. I say the light of learning because that's the overall theme of the building. You know, it was built and opened in 1926. The main architect was Bertram Goodhue. He was an architect from New York. There was a lot of controversy that he was picked to be the architect to build the Los Angeles Central Library, him being from New York. But he was picked mainly because he was one of the main architects. So Bertram Goodhue was the main architect for this building. He was very involved with the design of the Balboa Park in San Diego. So those iconic dome structures and the style, the Spanish style, is what the Los Angeles wanted for the library. And look, we ended up with a more modern design, like an early Art Deco style building. And it was modern because even the use of materials at the time, it is reinforced concrete. Lee Lawrie, who was the sculptor and who modeled and designed all the sculptures you see outside, inside the library, and all the light fixtures he did inside the historic building, which is the Goodhue building. Philosophy professor Hartley Burr Alexander, who was the one who envisioned the theme of the library, which is the light of learning, and who provided all the inscriptions that you see throughout, the building in its exteriors. You can see now the different pools. You see Bright, you'll see Lucid. There's a third one as well. But also you can see how the steps have inscriptions, and they are representative of the history of humanity and the history of the written word. So you see, we go from nothing to all the way through the language that's math, and all the way to a language that's also empty because it means the future. We don't know what else humanity will come up with. So this is called Spine. It's an art installation, and it's spine as the spine of the book, right? But also spine as something that holds everything together, and you see that it brings us in to the light of learning. This is a mini library inside the library where you can find popular titles, and these are available to check out right away. You don't have to place holds. And these, let's say sometimes a title is really popular, you may have to wait in line for your turn to get a copy. But if you come here, you see it available, it's all for you to add. We have self-checkout machines, a lot of popular magazines, and also we have the audiovisual department. And believe it or not, a lot of people still check out DVDs. So again, this is the Goodhue building, the one that we're looking at, which is the historic building, the original building. Of course, with some areas have been remodeled. We saw the Seven Centers painting, and that was new when the library opened in 1993. But also we're going to see the addition, which is the Tom Bradley wing. And Tom Bradley was the first black mayor of Los Angeles, so we honor him, and also a library supporter, so the wing is named on his honor. Look at these ceilings that you may think they are wood ceilings. They're not. They are painted with stencils directly on concrete. And of course we have the expenses here. They're all modeled by Lee Lawrie, and we have these beautiful called Civilization. You see, she has a crown that represents the city of Los Angeles. I will see the angels, the state of California. You see the bear with the star. And her crown is also a model of the Central Library. She is holding a staff that's resting on top of a turtle, and it represents the dominion of man over land and water. And of course, she's holding a book, and you can see in that front plate, it represents the history of civilization as well. That's why it's called Civilization, starting from the times that we don't have any record of history through the Egyptian period, the Phoenician period, you see the Rome Empire, all the way till you see the bison representing American history. And look at our beautiful holiday tree. It has custom-made decorations created in-house at the Octavia Lab, which you will see a little bit later. And the Octavia Lab is a DIY space. It's media, digital space where people can create all kind of things, including video, audio recording. There's a recording studio, and they can 3D print stuff. They can use laser cutters. They can use all kind of materials. They can do all kind of sewing and embroidering, all for free. So they have access to the materials, to the software, to the equipment, to be creative and to learn new skills. So you see all the different ornaments, they're all were created in-house. So we are in a very special space right now. This is the Rotunda. Back in the 20s and for many years, this was the main artery of the library. This is where people were where the car catalogs were situated in that area. We still have some remainings by the wall, some remain by the door. One of these spaces was the circulation desk, where people could, check out their materials. And the other space was the information desk, where people could, consult with a librarian. Now, these areas here, we have our Teenscape department. It's a library designed specifically for teens. We have the Annenberg Gallery, where we have rotating exhibits. Behind it, we have the Getty Gallery. We have beautiful exhibits also rotating. There's that beautiful Zodiac Chandelier, modeled by Lee Lawrie. You see that it has all the zodiac signs. It has a glass globe. It has 48 light bulbs representing the 48 states of the United States when the library opened in 1926. Plus you see the chains with stars and the moon, and it all ends up there with the sun and more stars, that chevron pattern painted by Julian Garnsey, stenciled. So beautiful color scheme, beautiful design. It was the technique used by the designers and the creators of this building, is to, because they didn't have a lot of budget, right? And this was fully building made out of reinforced concrete. The way to embellish the building was by painting the ceiling. What I'm going to say, I would say what we call like a legend, so I don't know if it's true or not. But people say that there was such a layer of dust and dirt within the murals that the murals were preserved from the fire and the smoke due to that fact. I don't know if that's true. I have not. I'm a librarian, but I haven't fact-checked that to confirm. But this is what we hear. So the murals that you see around the Rotunda, they were finished actually after the library opened. So when people came here in 1926, they could see the painted ceilings, but they were not able to enjoy the murals that we're looking at. So they were created in 1933 by Dean Cornwell, who won the bid to do this artwork. And they represent, a romanticized history of California and also some industries of, the state as well. It was very interesting at the time when these murals were created. The pastel, using pastel colors, it was not common, so they were a little bit of, unusual to see public art and murals using pastel colors, and also the technique that he employed of, delining each character with that dark blue line around them. When the architects who remodeled and expanded the library, they used some of those outlines to design the custom carpet that you're going to see in many of the spaces here. So for example, if you look at the gentleman, he's in the lady's hand here with the hat, right? And the Native American wearing the headdress, you're going to see some of those outlined as part of the carpet. So the Rotunda is named in his honor. He led the efforts to raise funds from the public, from private funds, to rebuild and expand this library. So he witnessed the fire from the building across the street, the Arco building, and he was so committed, and he led that campaign that was called Save the Books. So that's why he's honored this way. So, and also this honoring Mary E. Foy. She was the first female city librarian. She was only 18 at the time, and she became a leading figure in the city of LA, especially when it comes to women's rights. It is a library within the library just for teens. We were very innovative when the library opened in 1993 to have a space like this. And actually, we were featured mainly in the news and anything that has to do with libraries, because it was innovative to have a space like this one here. It will remind you a little bit of the cyber cafes, but still a great concept because teens usually like to collaborate and sit together.
Department within Central Library that is kind of like a mini library just for young people ages 12 to 19. The space is about 3,000 square feet. It is dedicated to teenagers, so we have a no unaccompanied adult policy. We were actually one of the first the first dedicated space for teens in a public library in the country. We opened back in the late 90s, and one of the things I really love about Teenscape is that it was designed for teens. So if you look anywhere else in the library at the computers, you'll find it's a one computer per person policy. There's even like little carols around the computers, so people are not encouraged to share. But if you look at our computers, as many teens as can fit on that bench can share a computer. It's designed for collaborative working, collaborative learning. We have collaborative workspaces in the back of the department. Also, we have lounge areas where they can hang out and study and read and just enjoy themselves. And so the idea is to meet teens where they are and provide library services that suit those needs. We have about 35,000 books. Notable in our collection, the most popular parts of our collection are fiction in the other room. That's about 11,000 young adult novels. And then in this room, we have the manga collection, which is manga, the Japanese comics that read right to left. And we have about 6,000 of those, one of the largest manga collections in the country. We carry over 700 different manga series. We also have about 2,000 novels, and we do have a collection of about 10,000 nonfiction books, all for teens, so all written at that middle school or high school age reading level.
See, I wanted to point out that this space also, it's very unique because it perfectly combines new modern design while preserving the historic features of the library. This is the Children's Literature Department. It is the area here at the Central Library that looks the most like the library looked like back in the 20s before the fire, right? Except for the custom carpet that you'll see. But below it, there's the checkers floors. Yes, and then many of the furniture are original from the old children's library that was actually located in a different area. Some of the elements we were able to preserve and reuse for the new expanded and remodeled library. But the furniture most of it is original from 1926. Here you'll see collection also in different languages. We're gonna go back to the picture book room, which is incredible. I've never seen a collection of picture books as big, and I've visited many libraries, and it's just a beautiful space for families to come and enjoy the library, come to programming. We have a puppet theater, or just a theater, you know, the windows, that's Hope Street. Outside, you see these murals that also represent the history of California. The lamps, they are exact replicas from the original, used with the sign created by Lee Lawrie. At some point, they got lost. The original ones, yes, many, many years ago. But we were able to recreate them with the original models. If you look down here at the custom carpet, you'll see some elements that you can find in the different ceilings. You can see some of the patterns from the mural that you were able to enjoy outside in the Rotunda.
So hi, my name is Tina Princenthal. I'm the Senior Librarian of the Children's Literature Department. The Children's Literature Department here at Central Library is dedicated to helping children ages 0 up to 12 basically learn to love to read. And we have a lot of sections and a whole lot of books to help us accomplish that. In our very last room, right down here, follow me. We can start with our concept room. This is a cozy space for parents and children to snuggle together and start doing some early reading. So we have our concepts books, which are ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, colors and shapes. And we have board books and baskets along the room. In our picture book room, which you can see is just massive, we have picture books all the way around the room, coming to our Spanish collection. We also have a massive international language collection here in children's literature. You can take a look at this sign and see all of the different languages that we represent. We get a lot of international visitors here at the Central Library, people who are traveling with their family for business, people who are touring the city of Los Angeles, and it means so much to those children when they come here and they see all of these books and they think, oh my goodness, these are so many books, but then to find a book in their native language means so much to those families. A picture book room of this size, you're not gonna find it at most libraries, just for limitations of space. This is a massive picture book room. But additionally, it's difficult for libraries to procure books in multiple languages, but the Los Angeles Public Library has a dedicated department that helps us find those books and make sure that they're relevant and popular in their home countries. So we have a lot of titles that are really exciting for those children to find here at the library in Los Angeles. We have books on all sorts of different topics, all sorts of different families, all sorts of different seasons and characters. So our dinosaur collection, our transportation collection, if you know a toddler, you probably know a transportation enthusiast. Trains, planes, automobiles, diggers. I know how to find where everything is. Sometimes it can take a moment. Like if you have a child that comes in and they're like, we just discovered platypuses. I can't walk up to the shelf and find a platypus book, but I know how to find it in our catalog to find it on the shelf. So we do a lot of that, finding popular animals, finding popular colors, finding popular characters. Children's interests are as varied as adult interests, and we tend to forget that. Recently, I had a 7-year-old who was obsessed with horses, so they wanted books specifically showing horseback riding. I also had a family that's 3-year-old was playing violin, so they wanted books on playing violin. But we also get a I think it's a strange ongoing request, is small children that want books with their own name in it. And sometimes we can find it and sometimes we can't. Sometimes we find authors with the same name as the child and that gets them excited. Pretty much whatever gets them excited about reading. We also get a lot of requests for books on space, for books about inventors, for books about artists. A lot of children getting inspired here at the library with the different things they read and the different artistic styles that they're seeing in these really gorgeous picture books. For me personally, it's a lot of fun to find books for children who know exactly what they want, but I feel like I specialize in finding books for kids who don't want to read at all. My brother was a reluctant reader. He never enjoyed reading. And so lots of times you'll have kids that are brought to this library because the parents think, well, they have so many books. Surely we can find one that my kid will like here. And so I like talking to those kids and sort of talking to them like, okay, what have you read that you liked? Nothing. Well, I ask them about stuff non-related to reading that they like. What sort of video games do they play? What sort of movies do they like? And so we just have a conversation about what they enjoy. And then I say, you know, reading is a fundamental skill. You're going to be required to do all sorts of reading. We might as well find you a book that you're going to decently like, even if you don't enjoy reading. And that usually is sort of my way in. And we find books that they might enjoy, and then they come back and go, I liked this, if you have more like it. And we just sort of start spinning the wheels there on, you know, building readers. And that's one of the beautiful things about a department this big. We have books that read to you. We have audiobooks. We have, you know, all sorts of videos and ways for your children to learn. And really, I think it comes down to just sort of encouraging your children to be curious and to love learning, even if they're reluctant to do it through reading. Because I think once you start that spark of inquiry, like sort of wanting to know more and wanting to learn more, it's going to eventually lead to books because they're such a good resource for that. So children who don't like to read stories, maybe they really love to cook, or they really love to collect Pokemon. And we have books on cooking and Pokemon just as well as we have books on dragons and fairy tales. So we're just finding those ways to encourage that curiosity.
So each floor is a library within the library. I know you've heard that from me very many times. So each subject department, it's pretty much its own library. They have art, music, and recreation here. They have an orchestration desk so they can even find music that an orchestra can play, other arrangements they can borrow and use. We have the international languages department on the first floor, and business and economic, the technology department, the social science department, the history department. So each area, you see some closed stacks in some areas here, some public access area. We have in front of us the wonderful chandeliers created by local glass artist Thurman Statham. And there are 3 of them. They were a little bit controversial because I think the architects didn't think they fit too much with the design, but I think that now, we love them. Also, you can see back there the Digital Commons. That is a space that we opened a few years ago, and their architect, Norman Pfizer, was part of the design to incorporate that area. And in a way, I think it is another video wall back there. For me, it's another art installation that we have here now in the new times, with technology and the audiovisual. So it is a space for digital art, and we actually commission some artwork created specifically for the library, and we also license digital artwork that we can exhibit from many digital creators from all over the world, especially from Los Angeles.
The 3 major parts of the history and genealogy are the maps, the genealogy section, and then the local history section, which is what I oversee. We have over 200,000 maps, and the genealogy collection has probably the most use is the Los Angeles City Directories, and we have them in print and digitized, and they're useful for all sorts of research. And we have a number of family histories and county histories that are not even in the Library of Congress, so we're a big destination for genealogy research. The California Index is what I'm proud of. It's a citation put together. It's unique to LAPL. It's created in-house, and we point people to books, magazines, newspaper articles, and then we also have old-fashioned vertical files that contain clippings as well as paper ephemera, pamphlets, brochures, things like that. And so you can search the top people, places, events that are important to Southern California history, and it will point you to a number of resources. One of the most popular questions we get is people researching the history of their house or the history of their neighborhood. It's really popular. So in that case, a lot of times we use Sanborn maps or our fire insurance maps, which detail blocks of Los Angeles over decades. It's a great resource. The Department of Building and Safety sends people here all the time because they need to document that, yes, that addition was on the house in 1926 or that garage was there. But it identifies a lot of the businesses, shows when things were built. It'll be just tracks or then when houses started coming. The city directories are very useful for that. It'll show who lived at an address over the years. And we also have vertical files for neighborhoods. So I'd say really that's probably the most popular question we get, besides people doing their genealogy. For the most part, we point them to where they can do their own research. Sometimes when you're not quite sure, you have to dig a little bit yourself to find out where the resource is, and so then you end up kind of doing some of the research for them, but you do that to be able to show them where they can find it. And sometimes we get email questions, phone questions from people out of state, and they can't always access some of our resources, some of our newspaper databases, or our microfilm, because we have Los Angeles newspapers on microfilm going back to the 1850s.
The TechKiosk. People can check out laptops to borrow, with a library card and use inside the library. But in addition to that, we have the Tech2Go program where patrons can check out computers and internet to take home and use at home. It's a do-it-yourself digital media lab. And people have access to computers with all kind of software for creation of all kind of stuff. There is a recording studio. People have also access to software to record audio, music, podcasts, embroidery machines, sewing machines. We have laser cutters, all kind of stuff. Engraving machines, and there's also a DIY memory lab, which means if you have like VHS recordings from your family memories, photos, and you want to digitize those, you can come, take some classes how to do it and do it yourself. All the equipment is here for you to digitize.
So this lab is very similar to what's happening in universities around the country right now. There's a lot of universities that do have maker spaces for their college students in the lab. This is one of the few in public libraries right now. So it's called the Octavia Lab because it's named after the science fiction author Octavia E. Butler. She had strong ties to the library. She actually wrote her first published book here, Pattern Master. And then in 1986, Octavia E. Butler was actually here in the building as an adult literacy volunteer. And the very next day, she helped save some of the books. So people actually go to the rare books department and make appointments to see some of those books that were saved. So the Octavia Lab, one of the most popular pieces of equipment that's featured in the lab, the 3D printers. I wish we had them going on right now, but we have some examples right here of items that you can actually print in the lab. So when you become a lab member, that just means you have your Los Angeles Public Library card and photo ID. You can then sign our user agreement and reserve any piece of equipment in the space, including the 3D printers. Octavia Lab is a do-it-yourself maker space, so you should have some knowledge, but we also provide some assistance. But we let our lab members know that they can export it as an STL file, and we give them different tools that they can use to build their own designs or at least find other STL files that they can download and export and print here. So a lot of times our lab members, this is their first time seeing a 3D printer in person in action and printing a project. Audio video editing studio right in here. And our lab members book it for the full 4 hours that we're open. And some examples of what our lab members have done in this space is edit their films, record their podcast episodes. Definitely a lot of singing goes on in here, especially including when we have class visits. We host a lot of class visits in this space in the mornings, and they love to sing and work on their beats in this space. So those are primarily what this space is used for. But because we book it 10 days out in advance and it gets booked every single day, there's actually going to be an extension with 2 more audio recording studios emphasizing podcasting equipment, which will be right here. Other items and pieces of equipment that we have in this space are all the iMacs and PCs that have the full Adobe Creative Cloud, plus other various pieces of software that goes with our smaller popular equipment, such as the embroidery machine. We have plenty of sewing machines. The poster printer in the back, our lab members get 1 free poster print a week, high resolution, at least 200 DPI. We'll print it once a week, 18 by 24 all the way up to 36 by 48. Also in the extension, there's going to be a lighting and photography studio. So I know a lot of people are waiting for this, especially to film their YouTube videos and do photography projects. They are waiting for this space to open, and that'll be right here. And then it'll also have lighting and photography equipment that the lab members can use in this space here. We would love a sublimation printer so that we can do, a lot of people are wanting to do t-shirts. A lot of people are, especially a lot of wearable technology. So we're looking to purchase more equipment that our lab members can create wearable technology. So this is one of my favorite pieces of equipment that especially the teens like to use. So we did this with our vinyl cutter. So this is heat transfer on material, and this is actually an Octavia E. Butler quote from one of her books. But why I love the vinyl cutter, which is actually right here, is because any age can use this piece of equipment. So I love equipment that any age can use. So with the vinyl cutter, you can make vinyl stickers. You can do heat transfers on t-shirts and pieces of material. So this is one of our favorite. I would say this is one of the easier pieces of equipment to pick up. So the Octavia Lab opened in June 2019. And so as you know, in 2020, when the pandemic hit, Octavia Lab came right to the rescue, and they helped build face shield components. So I was told it was over 15,000 face shield components that they did during the pandemic.
Here is one of our new American centers. So this is a private space when people can receive one-on-one assistance when it comes to anything related to immigration. I've used the service myself. I'm an immigrant, and it's free, confidential, and you're dealing with experts who are not, who are giving you accurate information to help you, either complete the forms, tell you exactly which forms to do, what do you, the next steps you need to take. So this is what's left from the original children's library. Before the fire, there was a separate wing with a separate entrance. It was the children's library, and this was part of the reading room. You can see the mural painted by Julian Garsley. The same artist who painted the ceilings. This is made to be feeling like a castle, if you see a little bit. And the mural depicts scenes from the book Ivanhoe. And now it is part of the New American Centers. It is a flexible space where we can do programming, we can do classes, depending on what's needed. They do a lot of language learning classes here and conversation classes in different languages. And actually this area is the Language Learning Center, and there are books to learn, I've been told, over 500 languages. Materials to help you learn over 500 languages. We actively collect and so monthly and regularly buy materials in French, Italian, German, Spanish, of course, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Armenian, Tagalog, and I know I'm missing languages, but we try to, acquire materials for the different diverse communities here in LA, especially the showcase the language diversity and provide materials for the many immigrants and people who speak the many languages in Los Angeles. There's a lot of languages in LA. So here, the first floor galleries. So there is a very special exhibit right now. We had 2 artists in residence. So they spend some time here working with the staff in our libraries, and they have now completed their work, their residency, and this is the culmination of their work. Again, what we've been talking about, building community, libraries as spaces for the community to learn, to get entertainment, and to be with one another. It has elements from each and every library in our system. So imagine 73 libraries, they're all condensed in that beautiful illustration there. So you see Central Library here in the center. This is the Adult Literacy Center. So believe it or not, there's still people who need help either learning how to read and write or improving their reading or writing skills. And here it's a wonderful space where volunteers from the community get the training so they can become tutors and then help some of the community members, achieve their goals and improve their literacy skills in English, and we're also providing that service in Spanish. So this is the space where there are learning materials, where there's meeting spaces, where the tutors and the students can sit together, meet and work on their lessons. The Rare Books Room is a space where people can come by request, available to everyone. And people just can make an appointment to come to the room, and they can review, view, and browse materials that they would like to see from the special collections that are rare and special collections. I can tell you some of our special collections. We have the photo collection, we have the map collection. So if you want to see a map you want to see it instead of seeing the digital piece, you can make an appointment to come and see it by yourself. These are 2 books published in partnership with the Library Foundation of Los Angeles based on our special collections. This one is Songs in the Key of LA based on our music sheet collection. And those music sheets, the covers, they have beautiful artwork. So that's something you can see featured here in the book. So that's one of our special collections. Actually, this book was published, written by Christina Rice. She's the senior librarian for our photo collection. And one of our photo collections is that one on the Yale puppeteers and the Turnabout Theater. Another one based on our historical collections and our historical menu collections. And the one in maps. So our map librarian, he recently retired, Glenn Creason, also put this book together, highlighting some of our unique, beautiful, and special maps in our collection. We had a city librarian who decided to create another of our collection, and it's an illustration of him. Here is that section of the Well of the Scribes. So this is this part, and we're missing these other 3 pieces. And there's a $10,000 reward.
This is the Literature and Fiction Department of the library, and it used to be 2 separate departments, and that's why it has the name fiction in it, because fiction is really part of literature, but there used to be a whole separate fiction department. So now it's called Literature and Fiction. So we have all the novels, short stories, plays, poetry, other literary works. And we also have subjects like journalism, and we have all the books about the libraries too in this department. So we have all the things about the history of this library, and we have some displays about the library too. And we have a lot of people who come in looking for books about biographies of actors. We have, since we have theater, we also have actor biographies in this department. So we do get a lot of people coming in and looking for famous actor biographies. I think it was 400,000 that were lost, either burned or to water damage to save. And then but there were about 700,000 that were damaged, had water damage, but potentially were salvageable. So they were put into boxes and sent off to be. They were in frozen storage with like frozen vegetables and things like that for a while, and then until we were ready to get them out and see how they were, and then they were freeze dried, and we had to go through and evaluate them all and find which ones actually were salvageable. Most of them were, but so that was a big project too. We had something called Save the Books at the time, where we raised money to buy more, to replace books, and we did replace some, but some things were irreplaceable, but we replaced what we could. And of course, since then, we've been buying new books, but we also got many gifts from the community. A lot of people donated items that they thought we could use after the fire, and quite a few of them we could use. So yeah, I don't know exactly what the precise figures are, but we definitely have, I think, a larger collection than, because of all that's been added over the years. So we're probably at least back to where we were as far as the collection size, because there were a lot of books that were not damaged in the fire, and didn't have to go through the freeze drying and everything. So there were a certain number that just had to be boxed up. When I started working here, it was the card catalog, and we go and open a drawer and look through, and so those are all gone, and yeah, there's some things that I miss a little bit from the past, but then there's other things that are a lot better. We used to have a lot more phone calls than we do now, because we got calls on all sorts of different. We used to be like the trivia center of the city, and that's true of all libraries. And we used to get lots and lots of fairly short answer questions that you could find without too much trouble, and now people can usually find those on their own, but we get sometimes the more difficult ones that they haven't been able to figure out.